Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbah Arlene Berger, and I'm a chaplain here at the Charles E. Smith Life Communities. Let us begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service with Bim Bam. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. We'll continue with Shalom Aleichem as we welcome in the Shabbat angels. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Welcome among us, messengers of shalom, from deep within us, majesty of majesties, the blessed Holy One. Come then in shalom, blessing us with shalom, leaving us with holy shalom, from deep within us, majesty of majesties, the blessed Holy One. We continue with Matovu as we verify the sanctity of this holy space that we're creating with each other now. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How lovely are your dwellings, O Jacob, your sanctuaries, O Israel. We continue with Lecha Dodi as we welcome in the Shabbat bride, the Kala. Lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmianu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki hi mekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, v'et Adonai ta'aritzi, al yad ish ben partzi, v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi b'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzohola. Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha Dodi likrat Kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. So we've welcomed each other. We've welcomed the Shabbat angels. We've welcomed the Shabbat bride. It's time for Baruch Hu. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. We continue with Ahavat Olam, which is a prayer that reminds us of God's everlasting love for us. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokveinu u'bekumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We now turn to the Shema, the closest thing we have to a creed in Judaism. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, and Adonai is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, V'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha u'flechtecha b'derech u'v'shofpecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtaftam al mizuzot beitecha u'visharecha. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words which I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home and when you walk on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your home and upon your gates. Then you will remember and fulfill all my mitzvot and be holy before your God. Shirat Hayam, Song at the Sea. This is always a wonderful prayer to say the Mi Chamocha, but especially this Shabbat, because this is Shabbat Shirah. This is the Shabbat where we read Parshat Beshallach in the book of Exodus, which is this story, the story of our ancestors leaving Egypt and crossing the sea and singing with joy upon realizing their liberation. When God's children beheld the power of the divine, they sang in praise of God, gladly accepting God's sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and the people Israel sang with great joy this song to you. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Who is like you, God, among all that is worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your children beheld your sovereignty as you divided the sea before Moses. This is my God, they responded, declaring, Adonai yimloch leolam vaed. Adonai shall reign forever and ever. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Help us, Adonai, our God, to lie down in peace and awaken us to life again, our sovereign. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us for the sake of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. You, O God, guard us and deliver us. You are a gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads a shelter of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem. It's now time for Vishamru, the song that always tells us that it's Shabbat. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beni uven b'nei Yisrael, oti li'olam, oti li'olam, oti li'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. The people of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, maintaining it as an everlasting covenant throughout the generations. It is a sign between me and the people of Israel forever that in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day ceased from work and rested. We now turn to the Amidah, the service where we speak to God about our concerns, and we do this in the name of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot, Umevigo El Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Umashia Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Yezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayei Metim Ata Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem Mechakel Chayim Bechesed Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Givurot, Umido Melech, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanata lehachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaMetim. Oseh shalom bimrama, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. May the one who brings peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen. I'll now read a prayer for our country. Sovereign of the universe, mercifully receive our prayer for our land and its government. Let your blessing pour out on this land and on all officials of this country who are occupied in good faith with the public needs. Instruct them from your Torah's laws. Enable them to understand your principles of justice so that peace and tranquility, happiness and freedom might never turn away from our land. Please, wise one, God of the life breath of all flesh, waken your spirit within all inhabitants of our land and plant among the peoples of different nationalities and faiths who dwell here love and brotherhood, peace and friendship. Uproot from their hearts all hatred and enmity, all jealousy and vying for supremacy. Fulfill the yearning of all the people of our country to speak proudly in its honor. Fulfill their desire to see it become a light to all nations. Therefore, may it be your will that our land should be a blessing to all the inhabitants of the globe. Cause friendship and freedom to dwell among all peoples, and soon fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift sword against nation. Let them learn no longer the ways of war. And let us say, Amen. That message seems even more relevant as this weekend we go into remembering and celebrating Martin Luther King and the message of peace and equality and brotherhood and sisterhood that he fought so hard to share. We'll now say a prayer for healing, and I invite you to bring into our sacred space the names of those for whom you want to send these extra prayers and thoughts of healing. Mi sheberach avotenu, mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu, mikor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We will now say Kiddush. I invite you, if you have a Kiddush cup, to raise your glass with me. And as always, I invite you to sing along. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh. Zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. We'll now have some words of Torah. So we're in Parshat Beshallach, where we have the Song of the Sea. There were 10 plagues in Egypt. After each plague, Moses would say, let my people go, and Pharaoh's heart would harden, and no, he would not let the people go. Come the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn, and Pharaoh changes his mind for a minute. So Pharaoh says, get out of here. His son had died. He'd had enough. Leave. But not almost immediately. There was enough time for the Israelites to prepare and do everything they needed to go and to as quickly as they could, get out of Egypt. And as soon as they were leaving, as soon as they left, Pharaoh said, "Oi, what have I done? How did I let these people go? We need them, these slaves, they're mine." And he changed his mind for one last time. And he gathered all his best chariots and the officers who were driving them, and he led them on this chase to capture the Israelites and bring them back. So where are we now? Our people are standing by the sea. In front of them is the sea of reeds, the Yam Suf that they need to get across. Behind them, it's Pharaoh and all his charioteers coming at them. They're, one could say, between a rock in a hard place or a sea in a hard place. They didn't know what to do. So they did what they normally do, and they started complaining. And, I think if we were there, we would probably be complaining too, because of the fear. They go forward, they'll die. And if they go back, and if they stay there, they'll die. So what are they going to do? Now, there's a wonderful midrash that I want to share. First of all, the Torah version. They're at the sea, and God says to Moses, lift up your hands and the sea will split. And Moses held his arm out over the sea, and God drove back the sea with a mighty wind all that night. And the water split, and the children of Israel walked b'toch hayam b'yabasha, in the midst of the sea on dry ground, water forming a translucent wall on either side. So that's the Torah version. But there's wonderful midrash about how did this happen? How did they get the courage up to actually go into the sea? So there's a story that our people are standing there, right at the water, and they're so afraid, and they're murmuring to each other, and Moses is there off to the side talking to God, and nobody knows what to do, but they know they're going to die somehow. And all of a sudden, out of the crowd walks a solitary figure, Nachshon, son of Aminadav. He stepped into the water. His family and friends are all looking on in horror and amazement. What is he doing? He's going to drown. They yell, where are you going? Come back, what are you doing? And Nachshon walked forward like a man possessed. He walked in the water up to his knees, up to his waist, up to his chest. Finally, the water is up to his nostrils. We're told in the Midrash that as Nachshon is in the water, Moses is still talking to God. And Moses starts praying that, a miracle will happen, that they're going to be safe. And God says to Moses, why are you praying at a time like this? Raise your hands above the water, and I will make sure that you can get through. I think this is such an amazing message, because what God is saying is there's a time to pray, there's a time for action, and Moses, you're confused, because this is not the time to be praying. This is the time for action. This is the time to take a stand, to take a step. So Moses goes to the sea, and as Nachshon is in the water, and the water is up to his nostrils, Moses holds his hand and the staff over the sea, and God parts the water. A miracle happens, and our people get across safely, and they sing, Mi Chamocha. So there's a lot of different versions of the story, and I'll bet that some of you, or many of you, have actually heard them. This is kind of a mishmash version of different ones that I've heard. But, what kind of courage did it take for Nachshon to have courage and faith and say, someone has got to go into the water first? If we're going to die, we can't just stand here. We need to do something. We need to be active. And Nachshon had the faith and the courage to take that first step. When I was growing up, sometimes when there was something to do and we were hesitant or something, someone might say, be like Nachshon or be a Nachshon. Have the courage, have the faith to take that first step. And we find ourselves in that situation a lot, don't we? There's something we need to do and something makes us hesitate. We're afraid of the consequences, or it's something that we're not looking forward to doing, but we're obligated, or it's something we're not quite sure what we're supposed to do, but we know we just have to take that first step. And that's a moment we need to be like Nachshon. We need to find courage and faith in ourselves, in the universe, in God, to take that first step and to hope and trust that the next steps that follow will come and will take us on the path that we need to go. So this is a wonderful Shabbat, and I love that this particular Shabbat this year is the same weekend as Martin Luther King Day and as Tu B'Shvat, which are both on Monday. Martin Luther King was a man who was like Nachshon. He took that first step, and the second, and the third, and the fourth. At great personal risk, he had a view for the community and the future. He had a view of a world and a country where people are treated equally and have possibilities regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their religion, regardless of their gender. And we are still trying to take those steps today to bring Martin Luther King's dream, his vision, to fruition. And then we have Tu B'Shvat, which is, to me, a holiday of possibilities. It's a holiday where technically it's the birthday of the trees. It's also a tax day for farmers, so they know in Israel, when they used to have to pay taxes on trees back in biblical times, they knew exactly when the year started. Almost like an April 15th day for trees, that was Tu B'Shvat. But it's also for us a day of ecology and of looking at the environment and looking at our earth and saying, are we taking care of this planet? It's a day to plant seeds that will grow in our time and in the time of the next generations. Perhaps many of you have followed the custom of planting parsley on Tu B'Shvat so that it will grow and we can use it during our Passover Seder. We take a seed and we watch it grow and we understand possibilities and we understand what can be, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children, and for this planet that we live on. So we have the song at the sea where God creates this miracle and the waters part and we walk on dry land amidst the water. We have the example in Midrash of Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, who had that courage to take the first step. We have Martin Luther King and his message, and we have Tu B'Shvat and its message of hope for the future. We will continue with Ein Kelohenu. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Elohenu, Mi Adonenu, Mi Kemalkenu, Mi Kemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehiktiru Avotenu, lefanecha et ketoret hasamim. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chalkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol amonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser haaretz Umashav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo, v'govhei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesu lato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashevota, El levavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'al haaretz mitachat ein od kakatuv b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We will now say the mourner's Kaddish. And I invite those who are in mourning, those who are observing a yurtzeit today or in the week ahead, and all those who have the custom to say mourner's Kaddish to please say so with me now. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'olma divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen, Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudusha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'olma v'imru amen, Yehei shalama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen, Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who ordains peace in the universe bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen. We conclude with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, li'et nasa b'chefso kol, azai melech shemo nikra, v'yacharei kichlot hakol, levado yimloch nora, v'hu haya, v'hu hoveh, Vehu yeh v'tif'ara, vehu echad ve'en sheni, lehamshilo lehachbira, beli reshit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz ve'hamisra, vehu eli, v'chai goali, v'tzor chavli be'et tzara, vehu nisi umanos li, Menat kosi biyom ekra v'yado afkid ruchi v'et ishan v'aira v'im ruchi geviati Adonai li v'lo ira. I want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, a Shabbat of love and peace, health and happiness. And I wish you a meaningful Martin Luther King Day and hopeful and positive looking to the future Tu B'Shvat. Shabbat Shalom.